We're on this morning with Faith London. How are you doing today, Miss London?
I am doing well. It's a little chilly here. We have a little bit of a cold front coming in, but I got to sleep in and I don't have to work today. So, doing well. Thanks for
Always,
asking.
always very nice. Did you have a good Thanksgiving dinner yesterday?
I did have a good Thanksgiving dinner. Everybody was there except for you. We had tons of food. We still have tons of food. And it was all delicious. Good people, good times. Yeah.
Nice. You gonna do any Black Friday shopping today?
I am going on the computer and doing some online Black Friday shopping.
All right,
But I do
Amazon.
I do have like a little gift card that I kind of want to go see if there's any good deals at this place today. I won it in a raffle that I was in. Yeah, maybe I'll step out of the house. That might be too ambitious. I don't know, get a pedicure, something.
Okay, sounds like a good day. Anyways,
Um,
Faithy, can you tell us just a little bit about how you got started in business and a little bit about your journey from at the beginning to where you are now?
Yeah, I can talk about it. It's probably not very exciting. So I got into college right after high school. We didn't like in our family, we didn't talk a lot about school or college, so I didn't feel like I was like super prepared to get into like go into that environment. But I got into a school that I don't even think I necessarily applied to based on my SAT scores, and they were paying for my uh, schooling. I had to pay for my room and board, I believe. But I stayed there for a semester. I made some good friends, and then I transferred up to Clemson. In Clemson, I got into a car accident, which made me have to like leave school. I went back, but I probably wasn't quite ready to leave school. So I'll say all that to say I have like half of an education. I've got I don't have my degree. I have a lot of schooling from different schools, but I just never finished. And so you wouldn't have really, I wouldn't have really imagined myself to be successful, that I was going to need to finish school and get a degree to be successful. Turns out I didn't have to do that. And maybe that's not the case for everybody, but if you want to get me into a rant on something, then I'll talk about how unfair it is for us to ask 18-year-olds to make a decision about what they're going to go to school for and try to decide the rest of their lives at 18 years old. Because I'll just say, 18 years old, at 20 years old, at 25 years old, there was so much that like I didn't know or, couldn't even imagine at that point. So
I'm a little similar in that case. At 18, I was definitely not ready to make lifelong decisions.
definitely not ready. So I when I so I left Clemson and I came back to Charleston. And when I came back to Charleston, I started working for this company. And originally I was working as a salesperson for the company. But when they heard I had like an accounting background, that I had studied accounting in school, they put me in the back end, like doing some bookkeeping stuff. And that was actually the first time I ended up having somebody report to me, was in that role. So I was doing bookkeeping, and I ended up doing like, all the administrative stuff, the director of administrative, like inventory and personnel and HR and all of that. I ended up, which was really a great opportunity for me, somebody with no experience and no education, like somebody believed in me. And so that was cool. And the first
Well, do
time
you
I
think they just saw how bossy you were? Or
maybe like like sometimes, well, okay, I just take control of a situation. Is it I'm an action taker, and so if I see something that needs to get done, then I'll like push to get it done, where some people are just a little more laid back. And I'll tell you this too, like I did a personality assessment the other day, a few months ago, and one of the things that it had one of the things it told me is that I have no control. Like I say what comes to my mind. And I was like, yeah, and I should work on that some. So I am actively working on that. Maybe that means being a little less bossy too. But so not saying exactly what I think should be happening at every minute in time. But that first time I had somebody report to me, I was doing like this was early 2000s, and I was doing everything manually. So I had these like Excel spreadsheets or whatever, and we were manually entering like data. I had a stack of stuff like this big into QuickBooks. And so I got them to hire a part-time person for me. The person came in. I'd never but listen, I had zero idea what I was doing. The person came in, they sat down, and I threw a stack like this on their desk and was like, okay, I need you to enter all of this. And like that person left for lunch and never came back. So that was my first experience in being a leader, and I didn't know what being a leader was at the time. And so, I worked for that company for a while. I'm sure I got a little bit better. Really, what I'm so grateful for there is like the experience I got, that I probably wouldn't have gotten from somewhere else. And then like moving down the line after there were a couple of jobs in between. Like that company ended up going out of business, and there were a couple of jobs I had in between, and I was just still trying to find myself again. Back to the 18-year-old, I was 30 plus years old trying to be like, what should I be doing in life? Like I have no idea, but I knew that I wasn't doing enough. And so the job I was in, I started getting really antsy, and I went and applied for another position in that company, which I was really excited about. I had a couple of interviews and I thought I had a really good opportunity there. And then that company was acquired like in the middle of that interview process. And so instead of me being able to like move on with that company and get a higher role, my position was eliminated. So I found out my position was being eliminated, and I had a month or so to try to find a job. And so at that point in time, there are a couple times in my life where like I prayed really hard about something that like I just needed some intervention on. And so I prayed really hard that like God, can will you please put me where I should be? Like where I can make a difference, where I'm able to grow. And I feel like that prayer was answered because I ended up getting on with an automotive group. And if you talk to a lot of people in automotive, they'll mostly tell you, unless it's a generational thing, that they're accidentally in automotive. So I accidentally got into automotive, but I feel like it was the best thing for me because so I started there as a staff accountant, and I did not have anybody reporting to me. It was probably
So they put the stack of papers on your desk
they
and
put a
said,
stack of
"Hey."
papers in front of me. Here's what I want you to do, Faith. But the guy who hired me, he's the president of the company now. At the time, he was the CFO, and he is like, if I were to say somebody was my mentor and like taught me really what it meant to be a leader, he would be that person. And so he spent so much time with me. So instead of just dropping a stack of papers on my desk and saying, "Hey, do it," he was like, "Okay, here's what we want to get. Here's what it looks like. Here's how to get, here's how to get there," and really like spent the time talking through and explaining to me, what things look like, help me understand. I didn't know anything about automotive. I had bought a couple of cars at that point in time, maybe one from a dealer, two from a dealership probably. I knew nothing about like what was going on for me to be sitting in this office. And also, again, I had a really great opportunity that not everybody would have because I started with the company. I was the fifth hire at the corporate office, and we had like 7 stores. And so now we have over 200 employees at the corporate office, and we have 65 stores and like over 5,000 employees. And so again, it was a matter of opportunity where like if somebody else were to come in right now where I was, they wouldn't have the same opportunity that I had. Does that make sense?
Yeah, timing is everything, right? Skill
Everything.
set is one part, timing is another part.
Yeah. So a little bit of my bossiness, a little bit of timing. They let
A
me
little bit of
hire
luck.
a little bit of luck, a little bit of prayer, right? So they let me hire somebody, probably I would say 6 months to a year after I started. Like they let me hire somebody. Like we had built up enough work and I had done enough to where they were letting me hire somebody. So I hired this girl and I still had no idea what it meant to be a leader. I was still learning at the time. And so this was, I don't know, probably 10 years ago. Um, and so I hired this girl and she was a little, we had it like, I don't know how to explain it. It was fine. She thought that she knew everything, which, there's sometimes people do, but we were moving, we were relocating. She had been with us for, gosh, I don't even remember how long she had been with us, but she had been with us for maybe a year. We were relocating into a new building, probably not even a year. We were relocating into a new building. So in the office that we were at, she was in like a cubicle that was across from my office, but we only had like four offices in the entire like office suite. So we needed to move somewhere bigger. We were getting bigger, we were expanding. And since we were expanding, we needed to get somebody to sit in like the reception seat for when people
Mhm.
came over to the new office that we were going into, had a reception seat. And so my job was to like figure out who was going to sit there. And we literally only had one person who could sit there. Like we had the president of the company, his administrative assistant, and then we had my junior staff accountant. And so I was like, it has to be her. So I had this conversation with her that like, hey, when we're moving to this new building, like this is where you're going to be sitting right now. I said, listen, in all my career, I've certainly sat in worse places than this. It doesn't mean anything. Like you still have opportunity to like move and grow, and you're not the receptionist. It is just that I need somebody there at this current time until we fill that to like, you know,
Not being the receptionist.
she was like, got it, yeah, okay. And then so I went back to my desk. My boss had the conversation go, yeah, I think it went okay. And I get a text from her that she like accidentally sent me because she meant to send it to her friend.
Hate it when I do that.
She
Not
she
good,
goes,
huh?
this bitch just told me. And I was like, oh. So
This bitch?
I was like, oh, okay, I guess the conversation didn't go that well, right? So these are all just like as I'm growing into like I'm trying to learn how to be a leader. I don't know what it means to be a leader. This bitch just told me da 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 da. And I was like, oh man, what do I do with this? And so it's like it was on a Friday. It was actually probably really cruel of me because it was like on a Friday and it was like her birthday weekend and I didn't know how to approach it the right way. And so I just said, like, I'm gonna think about it and I'm sending her home. So I didn't say anything to her and I was just like, hey, go home, enjoy your birthday weekend, which was the cruelest thing because which I wasn't thinking that at the time, but she goes home to enjoy her birthday weekend and realizes that she sent her boss a text that said they called her a bitch, right? So you can imagine that probably took a little bit of the joy out of like the celebration during the weekend or something. I don't know because she comes in Monday morning and she's just like, "Can I talk to you?" She's like, I'm so sorry." And so, I didn't actually let her go right away, but I waited until we moved into the new office and then I took her in and I was just like, "Hey, I need somebody who enjoys what they're doing and wants to be here and is willing to like be here for the opportunity. I think it's a great opportunity. And if you don't want to take advantage of it, then I think somebody else.
And was there anything else that happened, or was it just that one incident and you just gave it time to really think about it? And
It was that, well, it was that one incident that like broke the camel's back, but like I had again thought about myself and like some of the things that I had done in pursuing like a career. Like the work was what was important to me and doing a good job, and it wasn't ever necessarily like where I sat or who saw me. And that's like as I was thinking about it and as I was just thinking about it, I was like, this is a really great company and this is a really good opportunity, and I can't waste it on somebody that doesn't doesn't put the work first, doesn't say that, okay, the work is what's important to me. Like I trust. And I think that when we're talking about leadership, trust is that number one thing. And I hadn't built that enough trust up with her. So, I don't even blame her. It's not her fault. again, at the time, I didn't know or realize that, right? But it was my job as a leader. I believe that you can influence people in a couple of different ways. One, I can influence them by like building trust and building that relationship with them, right? So for me and you, if you didn't know who I was and I said I needed something from you, you're much less likely to want to do that thing I need from you if you and I don't have a relationship. You don't know who I am. You don't think that I care about you or know that I care about you in some way, shape, or form above and beyond the work that you can do for me, right? People. And then I think the other way that we build influence with people is to add value to them. So if I can add value to you, you're much more likely to want to like follow me or do something that I ask or something that you see that I need. It was okay, we trust you. Go ahead and do that, right? And so that is my philosophy on leadership is how do we build influence with the people around us? And that's how we can affect things. And that's why people will follow us, which essentially is what makes you a leader, right? In a situation, how can I like affect the outcome? How can I build trust with this person? How can I add value to this person where this person is going to look at me different? And that even goes with my like relationship at home with my husband. If I'm feeling like we're not connected, right? And so then I look at it and say, how can I change how he's viewing me? And I think that's the same in a leadership in a work environment. How can I change how they're viewing me? Ashley, when she didn't want to sit in the receptionist desk, I should have asked myself, how can I change how she's viewing me? How can I build that trust with her? How can I add value to her in some way so that she looks at me and sees that I don't only want her to like enter stuff into a computer, right? That I have bigger plans for her. I didn't know that at the time, but that's what I believe now.
Okay. Now you guys have scaled quite a bit from what you were telling me. Fifth
Well,
employee hired, now you have thousands of employees, multiple stores. Is there a process or a system that was implemented that really allowed you guys to remain efficient and also scale the business to being so big?
say, gosh, not anything. I know you want me to like give you some sort of like technology or something that we use, but I'll tell you the way we were able to do it is because the owner of the company, his character and the way that he carries himself and the relationships that he builds again are what allows us to be put in these positions. So one, it allows us to be put in a position to where we're able to hire really great people from the industry who look at our group and say, I want to be a part of that. And so when you have really smart people, they can put really smart processes in place to do this, but also in a way that people are looking at him and saying when they're retiring or when the manufacturer looks at us and says, hey, this store's not doing well, we want you to take over. Or somebody's retiring, says, you know what, I want my legacy to continue with you and your group, right? And so those are the ways that we've been able to kind of like have our foot in the doors for some really, really great opportunities. And then we were able to capitalize on those opportunities just because of the people that we were able to get in the group working with us.
And what do you attribute to being able to attract such high level talent to be able to put those systems in place and want to stay with the company? Is it the culture? Is it just the founder, the CEO? What do you
No,
think it
it's
is?
it's the culture and the leadership. And so, so the founder of the company, he's like I told you that his character, and then second in the company is the guy who hired me, and his view on people is that they're the most important thing. And so he's who really taught me what it means to be a leader. And so we would have like sessions. There's a lot of noise in the background. We focus a lot on building leaders. And we focus a lot on showing people that they're the most important thing. And we do those things. We add value to people and we build trust with people. And so that's what allows us to do it is the culture, the leadership culture and the character of the people that are in charge, I think.
Okay. And certainly you guys have dealt with quite a few challenges scaling a business and dealing with so many people. What do you think the biggest leadership challenge has been while you're attempting to scale the business?
It's I think 100% most people would say that it's communication.
You told me that communication is the biggest challenge that you've had, leadership challenge and scaling. And I think that's probably pretty common from what I've experienced in business as well. So, how did you pivot? How did you address that communication challenge?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's still being addressed, right? It is. I think that is not something that you figure out and then it's done. I think that's something, it's constant. One of the things we did was we broke out our group into regions, right? And we put, I guess you would call them like mini leadership teams at the top of each region. And so the idea there is that you've got the corporate leadership team, and then you've got them coordinating with the regional leadership teams, and then the regional leadership teams are supposed to trickle that down into like the stores in that area. I think there's that. That's one is communication, and that's I don't I don't know that. Listen, I mean, it's still a work in progress, right? Trying to get it to that nobody reads emails anymore. Like putting a communication out by an email, like that does only so much. I told you how great the culture was at the corporate level, at the corporate office, and it's one of the reasons that I stay there, and it's one of the reasons we're successful. But the challenge with that is with, 65 stores, it's also really difficult, like making sure that that culture gets pushed down into stores, right? You got to think at the store, like at the corporate level, we are all dealing with very pleasant people that have that character and do a good job. But at the store level, they're dealing with customers on a regular basis, or coworkers that maybe are there just because they need a job and this isn't their career and stuff like that. And so it's a whole different environment.
So that actually does bring me to my next question. When you're building a high performance team, how do you balance the need for human intuition, emotional intelligence, and also wanting to be able to use data to actually drive and make quality decisions? How do you balance all of that?
If you asked anybody, they would tell you that we're really data driven, and I mean, anything that can be measured, you'll listen, if you listen to the founder of our company in like his core values video, he says anything that can be measured can be improved, and we measure it. We measure everything, and that was my first role with the company is building some of these like reporting. It was very archaic at the time. And of course, as technology has gotten better and we're able to use different things, like we've gotten a lot better at like building the data, building it more timely, or using the data to build these reports more timely and to use them to manage everything we do. And so even with our core values, we've created a report that basically reports on these four pillars that we believe in. So we believe in order, employee culture, our customer experience, market leadership, and then, financial performance, which comes after all of those other three things are handled. And we've built reporting and data sets around how do we determine if a store is leaning into their employee culture, right? Well, what's their retention? What's their turnover? What does this look like? And so all of this is data related. And so I don't remember your initial question, but how do you balance
Well,
it? I think that's how, right? Like you're saying how like this is who we want to be and how can we measure that using like the data that's available to us, or how can we collect more data that will allow us to kind of help uh, see where we are.
and as a leader in the automotive field, have you seen significant shifts or changes that you've observed in client expectations or market demands over the last year or year and a half?
Yeah, I think anybody would say the only thing constant in automotive is change. Like things change constantly. And so like when COVID happened, it was a really scary time for a lot of people because I remember them saying that like everything was getting shut down, which we didn't have 5,000 employees at the time, but we had a decent amount of stores with employees that we were responsible for them and their families, and so us having to figure out, well, what does that mean for them? um, was pretty scary. The interesting thing is that for automotive, it was very short-lived because we were deemed as a like what do they call them, like the necessary businesses to stay open.
Essential businesses, yeah.
Essential, yeah. So we were deemed as an essential business, and so we probably had like I think I forewent my salary for like a month, but then we were able to like go and bring everybody back, pay people back, and open the stores. And the thing that's interesting though is that like during automotive, because all of the factories and stuff shut down, like the inventory was very limited, and with your business degree, you understand supply and demand, which
Mhm.
means that like our stores were making more money than we had ever made before because we just had people. I mean, our salespeople didn't have to sell anything. They didn't have to know how to sell. People were like, "Do you have it?" And they were like, "Yeah," and 10 other people want it. And so then you're like, you had a bidding war, right? And so like it was really insane, honestly, for a few years. And then things started to normalize a little bit. And like one of those changes was you had people. So in automotive, there's a process for everything. And so there was always processes on how to sell the car, processes on how to greet the customer, processes on, like just everything. But none of the salespeople, we had brought so many new people in, like nobody remembered what it was actually like to have to like follow the processes and sell a car and like put in effort for things. And so that was huge when, things started shifting a little bit or normalizing a little bit. You had a lot of people that were making a lot of money and living a lifestyle with making a lot of money that now we're like not able to make that same money, and coming in and kind of figuring out, well, what's next, or how do we sell cars online. We lost a lot of money through like fraud because we didn't have processes and stuff in place where we had to go to an online model because of COVID and stuff like that, but we didn't quite know what we didn't know yet or hadn't thought about. And so didn't vet people properly. Now we have all these processes in place that, including, there's a tool, gosh, I might get it wrong. There's a tool that we use that if we want to go deliver a car to a customer, and we can't go in person to deliver the car to this customer, this company will like hand deliver it for us, but also ask the customer all the like security questions and stuff like that, and then take the liability if for whatever reason it's a fraud thing. So many changes, AI changes, of course, like with our with the internet business being one of the main businesses for most companies, right? For most industries, like that online business is how people are doing, how consumers are buying, right? Is this online business. And sometimes I don't think automotive has it quite figured out, but we have like internet departments in the stores. But the thing is, they don't always treat the internet showroom as they would like a live customer in the showroom. And so that's one of the things that we work on, training and trying to get people's mindsets changed and figuring it out. There's tons of like AI tools in there, but some people just rely strictly on those AI tools and don't have like a process to actually like, you know, connect with the customer. So, yeah, lots of changes all the time.
Okay. Well, looking ahead to the next year, we're almost at 2026. I can't believe it. This year went by so fast. But where do you anticipate the biggest opportunities for growth? And what is your strategy for capitalizing on those opportunities?
Specifically with our group or in the industry or
Yeah, specifically for your company.
well, we just acquired 13 stores in Baton Rouge, and there is so much opportunity in these stores. So there's a lot of people in the stores. They're super loyal and they seem to be excited for this opportunity. But there's a lot of things that they just don't know. They haven't done things down there, and things move a little bit slower and a little bit different. And so I think that's where certainly the at least the first quarter of the year, first half of the year, a lot of time and energy is going to be spent on that. But then also, and really in my position in the organization as a whole, like leaning into our leaders. So not only our top leaders, our general managers, but our leaders of people in the store. We have a lot of stuff on tap to kind of to lean into that and make sure that we're helping teach them to be better leaders and like putting them in the position to train their people on how to do the job well. So those are kind of our initiatives going into this next year is leaning into like the leaders of people because ultimately we're working to develop this culture of like coaching and development. And so to do that, it starts with the very top level and then trickles down from there. And so we're trying to kind of take it down a level at a time, um, and really start building that culture. So that's where our biggest opportunity is.
So basically train the trainers.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And we're
And
almost done
train the
here.
leaders, I would say too.
Train the leader. So who's responsible for training the leadership?
It's my responsibility to make sure that we have resources put in place for doing that. And then one thing that I do well is work with the other leaders in our
I
organization.
thought you were
And
going to say tell people what to do.
well, by telling them what to do.
How has AI coming online, automation specifically impacted, client operations? And are you seeing a lot of adaptation, or is it still something that you're not quite ready to adapt yet?
So, yes, there's a lot of it out there, and yes, our company wants to adapt to it. The thing is, there's so many out there, like figuring out what the best option is sometimes is difficult. And also, like it's it's changing so quickly, um, that you may start some in one place and then you see another opportunity with another vendor over here because we use AI in the dealerships. I mean, there's a lot of it. Especially with our like customer interactions and our internet tools and our internet showrooms, and stuff like that. But also car buying, what the markets look like and what we should be buying and, um, you know, where we should be selling something like cost wise and stuff like that. So we do use a lot of AI tools, um, and you know, we're trying to keep up with this like constantly changing and evolving resource, I guess.
And do you guys have an AI department, or do you outsource most of that AI technology
We
implementation?
don't we don't build anything. We do have an IT department who helps kind of vet these vendors and source vendors and stuff like that. But we don't have somebody specifically dedicated to AI in our group.
Okay. And the last one for today, beyond client operations, have you noticed any fundamental changes in how AI is influencing the practice of leadership itself or the skills
Beyond,
required to lead effectively?
beyond operations, the AI is probably mostly used to craft emails to get sent to people.
So kind of then what I'm hearing is AI is used a little bit for, you told me the biggest challenge was communication,
Hmm.
right? Communicating effectively. So
Hmm.
is that where you're mostly seeing AI from a leadership standpoint, is just being able to craft more effective communications and get those out?
Maybe, but I think our issues in communicating are not necessarily the words that are being used, but the methods to on how and who is getting what message at what time and by what method. So I think AI less helps with that the communication in the like crafting of emails, which is super handy. I use it all the time, by the way. Don't me write an email. But and I guess to your point, it does help a little bit. There is some clarity help there, right? Because sometimes you get like a half-assed message that gets sent out because somebody hasn't thought it all the way through. So even just using that tool to help you craft a more thoughtful email around it could, to your point, help um with that piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, one of the things that I've noticed is I can voice text, and I'm not really good at spelling or punctuation or grammar or anything. So for me, being able to voice text what I want to say, asking the AI to put this into a professional sounding email, and then even being able to ask the AI to like, can you change the tone of that, make it a little softer, make it a little more friendly? Can you make
Yeah,
that a
you
little
need
more
that. Are you
direct?
always telling? Are you always telling AI to make it a little softer?
More often than not. I don't usually have to tell it to make it more direct. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for joining me on my leadership podcast, Faith. It's
Well,
been
thanks
a
for
good
having me. This was
conversation.
fun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, unless there's anything else you want to tell me about leadership or the direction that you see this going, do you see a lot more AI being implemented, or are you kind of,
Yeah, I mean, I think you were right when you said I think there's unlimited growth, like room for growth with it, right? Some of the things, yeah, and I think I don't have that creative muscle in my brain to even say like where it should go next, and then I'll just be surprised when I'm like, oh, AI is doing this also. Oh, okay, now AI is doing this. So, yeah, I mean, I think that it's just getting started, especially like when I'll talk to, somebody, a leader in the company about this next thing, and they're telling me about this other AI tool or whatever that they're using, and I'm like, who would have thought, right? So yeah, I think it's everywhere, and it's only getting bigger. And I disagree with people that say it's, taking people's jobs. I don't think that that's I mean, I don't know where it'll be in the future, but like that's not what I see from it. I see it as like helping to make what we do more efficient, helping to us to like be able to handle bigger capacities of things, and just giving us like more insights that we need. So there you go. I don't think robots are going to take over the world. If they do, they're probably coming for me first. I'm going to be honest with you. Like me and Alexa, we're not really friends. Like,
yeah,
and you should see for the chat GPT arguments I get into.
I would agree. I think that AI is a tool that will make it easier for people to make the correct decision, lighten the workload, kind of take some of the stress off, but also increase the capabilities of people who are already good workers.
Yep,
Um,
agree.
all right. Well, thank you, Faith. I appreciate you coming on my podcast, and
Thank you.
I
Thanks for
hope you
having
have a
me. It was
good
fun.
day.